Lots of big investors out there will tell you, you don't buy, rent. Your home is a liability. And that's correct. But anyways, I think a good conversation can flow from this because I agree with that sentiment that I just said, but I also have a different opinion that I can share with you guys. But welcome to another episode of the Refined Real Estate Podcast. It's Manny, and I'm here with Janelle and Ian. We are real estate investors in Halifax. Combined, we've done over 40 units. We've flipped houses, wholesaled, and much, much more. Ian and Janelle are also mortgage brokers with the Blake Wilson Group. In today's episode, we're going to talk about renting versus buying. This is going to be a good conversation, and I feel like you'll all get some value from it. But before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please be kind and give us 5 stars. If you want to get in touch with any of us, we're all very active on Instagram. You can message us on the Refined Real Estate Nova Scotia, Refined Real Estate NS page, or myself at Shift Properties, or Ian and Janelle on their own personal pages as well. We love to talk real estate, and we're more than happy to chat with you guys. First off, what's going on, guys? What's going on in the world?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. I think for those of you who are watching on YouTube, that you've noticed we have a new studio. Woo! This is our first week in the new studio. We're getting things set up here, so bear with us. We're learning, we're figuring things out. I like the color, first off. Refined Real Estate, red and blue, on brand. Our audio and our visuals are going to be a lot better from now on. First of all, I want to have a little message for all the female real estate investors out there that a lot of our listeners, we can see on our Instagram, a lot of our subscribers are actually male. So to all the females out there, please like, subscribe, tune in, share it with your female friends. I would love to see that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a female real estate investor and I love to have a few more friends out in the world. But yeah, I think there's actually new developments going on that just happened right now. So I love to chat about that.
Yeah, so we're actually recording. We're about 2:15, March 22nd, about 10 minutes ago. It was announced through the iPods, so we get an email there. And they came out to say that the rent caps are going to continue. We're going to be up to 5% starting the end of this year and extend it for 2 more years. So naturally, people are going to be angry on both sides, where there's just no winning in this one. Really, there's no way that landlords are going to be happy and tenants are going to be happy. So we're going to be able to log on to all the social media websites for the next few weeks and just see the battles back and forth.
Yeah,
so
love that. Love the commentary, like warriors out there commenting. But I think on that, like 5%, I'm actually surprised. I did not think they would lift it. I've been kind of the mindset that the 2% is here to stay, and keeping my expectations tempered. But 5%, like I'm kind of like, oh, it's not bad. I'll take it.
Me too. And I've heard rumors the past couple of weeks that this is what they were going to do, so I wasn't entirely shocked. But 5% is a whole lot better than 2%.
Yeah.
Like over 2-3 years, that 5, 10, 15% going up slowly. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. They said it's only for 2 years, and then
who knows?
Who knows what they'll do? They might get rid of it. I'd be shocked. They might increase it to 10%. Only time will tell. But in the meantime, yeah, like you said, Ian, no one's going to be happy. Landlords aren't happy. Tenants aren't going to be happy.
No one's ever happy, especially in this game. Like I was speaking to someone earlier this week about it, and as a landlord, like there's absolutely no winning. I think you're always kind of on the wrong side of the table, unfortunately. But that's
Canada.
In Canada, yeah, especially in Nova Scotia. But I think you're looking at Chandler made a post about it. That guy is on it already, and he was talking about it. And what was his sort of take on it?
Yeah, again, same thing that we're echoing. It's no one's going to be happy. There's really no winners in this, and nor will there be with just the power struggle between the landlords and the tenants and stuff. There's just so much stuff just gets filed down, and landlords get painted as the bad guys and all this stuff. And we've heard, both sides of it. And yeah, there's really, a lot of landlords take a lot of heat, and there should maybe be the government stepping in to provide some housing.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, like it's a private sector. Like we're out there, we're investing. It's the same bit. Like we're running a business. It's like, what happens if there was a price freeze on milk out there? It's like the farmers are going to be the painted as the bad guy if they want to raise the price of milk. But it's like they got to feed their cows.
Man, as we were talking about earlier, the chicken farmers are rich.
Yeah.
So our eggs should not be as expensive, and our chicken breasts should be, but they're not villainized.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, you talk to any farmer, like they're praised. They're like, "Oh, this is so great!" Like, yeah. But as a landlord, definitely not. But on that, the 5%, I think that's great. Like the fact that they're just sounds like they're taking into account inflation a little bit more. And like on the refined side, I'm the one who's kind of behind the scenes a lot of times doing like the accounting, doing the bookkeeping. So I see all those numbers. I'm seeing all those Nova Scotia power bills and Halifax water bills come in, and oil and garbage. Like, for example, we got for the second time this year, around a 10% increase in our garbage removal. So 10% compounding twice a year is not 5%, but the rent cap going up to 5%, it does help. It does help with those the inflation of utilities, not to mention property tax. I think as a landlord, everyone out there is very aware of like their assessments and what they're getting taxed on. So yes, the 5%, I think that's helpful, but a step in the right direction. And I'm a big fan of some sort of like hybrid model on the rent cap, like something to tie into the amount of money that you've invested in your unit, or something to tie to like the inflation index or something like that, just to combat the cost of expenses.
Well, if our listeners like this topic, we can go on a deep dive on rent caps historically, because look at even across Canada, the markets that have the most affordable rents, Edmonton, Alberta. It's no coincidence that there's no rent cap. The most expensive rental cities across North America, New York, San Francisco, Toronto, Vancouver, rent caps. I'm just saying,
there might be a coincidence.
There might be a coincidence. And this is a global thing. We're not the first society to talk about rent caps. Rent caps have been around. And there's research that shows that it's not beneficial to tenants. It seems like it in the short term, like on the micro, because like, oh, it's great. Our rent's not going up. We get to be comfortable. But when you take a step back and look what's actually happening, it does not help. What helps housing is building housing.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. But no, I think that's so right. If listeners do like this, let us know. We'd love to get into this a little bit more, and we have a lot more opinions, and not just opinions, but we also have a lot of knowledge on that. I do a lot of reading on it. I've done a lot of education on it, reading studies, listening to podcasts on this topic, and I think that's definitely worthwhile in the future.
I think so, and I'm sure we're all aware of our bias. We're real estate investors, so we take what we say with a grain of salt, but at the same time, we will provide facts and evidence that kind of justify why we think what we think.
Yeah.
Anyways, besides this.
No, you go ahead.
On today's podcast, we're going to talk about the age-old debate of renting versus buying. Lots of big investors out there will tell you don't buy, rent. Your home is a liability. And that's correct. But anyways, I think a good conversation can flow from this, because I agree with that sentiment that I just said, but I also have a different opinion that I can share with you guys. But I'd like to hear what you guys think. What do you think, Ian? Should people do that?
Yeah, so again, bringing it back to the grassroots, why I got into real estate investing, and that was by reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in that, they talk about what an asset is versus what a liability is. And they take it a step further. So, it's very common to hear that, for a lot of people, their house is their greatest asset. But by Rich Dad, Poor Dad's definition, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Now, if you are to just go out there, buy a house, you move in, I mean, that thing sucking money from you left, right, and center for a number of years. But after, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's taking money from you, but it's building that piggy bank up. You could refinance after a few years or wait till it's fully paid off, sell it, whatever it might be. But traditionally speaking, with a house being an asset, you have the conflict between what Rich Dad Poor Dad says, where again, money going in versus money going out. So yeah, there's arguments out there that say, yeah, it might be better if you actually were to rent somewhere and take that money that you save and invest it in, stocks, bonds, whatever it might be. So
you said it was it Grant Cardone who?
Grant Cardone is a big proponent on renting where you buy, but you know what? Grant Cardone owns some very nice mansions. So
yep.
Take that as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I guess, different stages of your career, different investing. And I know, Manny, we were chatting about this before the podcast too. It's like, Manny was saying maybe explain, you bought your first house versus, not renting.
Yeah. So like what we kind of came to the conclusion, it's really individualized. Like it depends on the person and where they are in their life. For me and where I was when we bought our first house, my wife didn't want to buy a rental property. Well, we did want to buy rental properties, but she didn't want to move into one. And I respected that because she didn't want to. But at that time, we were able to buy a nice home. We wanted to have a dog. We had our own, our own yard, everything. And like you said, Ian, we were able to refi that thing a couple times. So this is my thing. It's like, I understand liabilities versus assets, obviously, but even though it's not making us money monthly, when we refi that thing, the amount that we're pulling out tax-free is much more than what we have spent, hopefully. Yeah. And then if we're able to take that capital and now go deploy that into investments, you can kind of turn it into an asset, kind of. I don't know. Am I wrong?
Well, I think first of all, let's also know that Manny's still married.
Did I say in past tense?
No, I was just saying I think that's something that is keeping you married. So investment in yourself.
Yes.
Not the traditional sense. And I think, in speaking about that, are you speaking about you didn't want to buy an investment property in like house hack with your now wife? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Kind of, yes. I would have, personally. Okay, yeah. Because I think house hacking is amazing. That's what if in a different world my wife wanted the house hack, I'd probably live in my sixplex right now. But honestly, no, that's probably a little extreme.
Watch out, Michelle, you're moving soon.
So let's just maybe we'll take a step back and maybe Janelle, if you want to go in, what is house hacking?
Yeah, for sure. So I house hacked my first property, did not know what that was at the time. So house hacking is when you buy property and you are either renting out a part of it, say the second unit in the property, or you're renting out, say, bedrooms within that property. So I've actually done both in that property at the same time. So when I moved into my duplex in Antigonish, I fixed up the second unit, the ensuite in the rear of the house, and then I rented that out. So I was house hacking and, living mortgage free, if you will, if you want to call it that. That worked out really well. And actually at the start, I guess you would maybe think of it of the more traditional house hacking sense, because the first tenant I had, the kitchen was not finished in the second unit. So we had a shared common space. Then I fixed that up, got a proper kitchen over there, sealed off the unit. And then down the road, I was actually telling Ian and Manny my story of how I also rented out another bedroom in there as well. But yeah, so then I live in that house and I rented out the second unit in it. And then at some point in time, I actually rented out the second bedroom in the unit that I was living in. So I was really trying to double down on that rent money. So I had a couple fun stories from that. So that's, again, very up to personal discretion on if you're comfortable with, renting that out to maybe it's to your friends, the space that you're living in. You're renting that out to your friends or strangers or whatever. So, house hacking.
Yeah.
I think house hacking is amazing. If I could tell any new investor how to get into it at the start, that would be by far my number one tip. You can get into a duplex, triplex, fourplex, low money down, as Brandon Turner, Bigger Pockets preaches, and then you get hands-on experience on how to be a property owner. Yeah. And then you can kind of recycle. You can keep on doing it over and over. And in the States, they have this thing called an FHA loan where you can do for 3.5% down. Here,
so low.
Here, I think it's 5% for a duplex, 10% for a triplex. I think it's 10 for a. Was it?
No, you can stay 5% all the way up till if it's your primary residence, and then it gets a little sticky after that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'd have to double check. It's like 10% for a triplex
Yeah.
or a fourplex, and then on the first 500,000, and then after the 500,000, it's 10%, something like that.
Yeah.
So you can buy triplexes with 5% down.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's amazing. You know, where else can you buy, you know, an asset that can generate you this kind of income for 5% down, and the bank will mortgage 95% of it? Nowhere. You know, so it's a no-brainer in my opinion. But
and also just what you said too, as like a great first-time investment to learn how to be a landlord, and especially the fact that if you're in a duplex, for example, you're living in that unit and you're interacting with your tenants a little bit more than, you know, if it's a remote investment. So then I think that is just a great experience because you get so much hands-on experience there. And I know, shout out to Kevin, like he bought his first duplex in Truro, and I know he's been not necessarily living in that property, but being around it and being around his tenants. So
he was living in it.
Okay, he was living in it, yeah.
And
so
now he's just now signed another lease to move out.
So I think he would probably attest to the fact that he has learned a ton from that. Just like, yeah, you just, you know what's going on, the maintenance, the questions and the issues that your tenants come up with. And then you can learn from that, better prepare yourself for your next investment, and then you can get those systems or have those things in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and then that's what I did too, is I house hacked, but I pushed it even further. Like I converted what was like the little living room or dining room to another bedroom. And there was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, four of my friends and me. And
I do the same thing.
Oh yeah, no. And it was, I was 20.
5 guys.
Yeah.
How old?
20, 25, I think. Or
5 25-year-olds in one house.
Oh yeah. So it's like
tell us about that.
Oh man. So it was like in one half or one part of the equation, I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like I'm house hacking, I'm living for free, life's good. But then by the other side of the coin, it was like, this is complete chaos.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain.
Oh, absolutely. But it was also like, okay, all the money I'm saving on rent, I'm probably spending drinking.
House hacking.
Yeah. So that's house hacking. But no, it was, and again, it was like, it was what I wanted at the time. It was fun, yada, yada. But again, long-term financially, probably a bit of a wash on that one. But,
net zero.
Yeah, net zero. But the theory is there. So it's like, you know, say, and again, didn't charge them very much, and like life was good, but there were so many of us that I didn't have to charge a lot. But then again, this is when houses were a lot cheaper and lower interest rates, yada yada yada. So, but yeah, again, news or advice to someone that's like trying to get in the market now, whether it be that investment property or whether it be, you know, even in your first home, like it doesn't necessarily have to be that duplex or whatever. But yeah, if you can get in and house hack, you're setting yourself up for massive success moving forward.
Yeah, and just talking about the renting versus buying, because what I often hear like people kind of preach on social media or speak about is like, oh, if I'm paying X amount of dollars per rent per month, and if I got a mortgage, it would be this per month. What I feel like people just totally skip over is that barrier to entry for buying a house is often like the down payment. Like you need that down payment in order to buy. So now if you're doing like buying for $300,000, $400,000, 5% down, 5, 10, 15, $15,000 on a $300,000 purchase, to some people, depending on your financial situation, saving up a $15,000 down payment in a year or two, whatever it is, it's not that easy. But again, like that, I wish people kind of just took note of that like, yeah, sure, you can assume like, well, if I'm gonna get a mortgage, it's gonna be smaller than my rent. So yeah, I wish people just kind of took that into account.
But that's not the case with our mortgage rates right now.
Yeah.
So that could be one now pro for renting.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have some friends that live in Toronto and they rent as opposed to buying. And it makes sense for them because just the kind of lease environment and the landlord environment they have there, he's secure where he's going to live because they can only increase their rent by, 1 or 2% every single year. So like the variable costs for him are pretty fixed. He knows what he's going to pay every month. And now versus if you were to buy the same house and have a mortgage and if he had a variable loan, his payments would have skyrocketed over the past year. And like you said, water, power, every utility, insurance, they've all gone up. So there is some pros to renting, and this could be one. But on the other spectrum, if you live in Halifax and you're on a fixed term lease, you just move somewhere and it's nice, you love it, you get settled, that 1 year's up.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud, I don't want to renew your lease.
5% up.
Yeah, 5%, or they just won't renew it. And
Yeah.
now you have to leave. And now you have to uproot everything and go start again.
I think that is, again, talking pros and cons. Also, I'll preface it by saying that I'm very much like pro of owning. I think that all the costs that you just mentioned, the utilities, the operating, the cost of ownership, most cases in the long run, you're going to end up with a net positive if you're owning. But that's, I don't know. I forget what I was going to say about that. I don't know. Something.
But yeah, so then that's the other side of it too. It's like it might make sense for you, say you're working in Halifax or any major city out there, whatever you're in, and you buy somewhere else, and it might make more sense for that to be looked as a investment for you. So say again, things are getting way more expensive up there, but you might be looking to those secondary, tertiary markets where, you're that first house you buy, you don't necessarily have to move into. You could be renting in Halifax where you're working downtown or whatever it is, then that's fine. And people are always saying, you got to go buy your house to go live in. And it's like, well, no, maybe we should consider the fact that the first house you buy, you're not even going to live in. And I know you had a story about that, Janelle, with your family.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So my brother, he bought his first house, I guess, around the same time I bought mine. It's around 2017, 2018. And actually, I'm in fact in the exact same situation, more or less, that he was then. So he was renting in Sydney, and then he bought a house. He bought a triplex, has done really well on it. And then when he bought it, I just assumed, I was like, oh, Colin, you're going to go live in it, right? And he was like, well, no. And he just off the top, I was like, what do you mean? You're going to go live in your house, right? And then he said, and I think this is probably one of the biggest pros to renting. He's like, well, where I'm renting, what I'm paying is less than if I move into one of the units and what I can rent it for. So, if you want to put it this way, it cost him $1,000 to live in one of his units. And I'm just making these numbers up, but maybe he was renting for $800. So it's like, you're saving $200 a month. That's, whatever, $2,000, $2,400
on the year.
Dollars in a year. So again, and I'm at more or less in the same situation now, that for me as a single person, that the place that I'm going to go rent, I just need a room. That's all. I'm not looking for a big house or a big 2-3 bedroom apartment. So for me, it makes more sense for me to rent, and I'm living with a friend, and that works out for them. They're getting rent money. I'm paying cheaper than what it would be for me to go live in one of my units. So again, it's quick math. How much does it cost me to live here? How much does it cost me to go rent somewhere? What's the difference?
Exactly. And I guess this kind of brings us back to what I said at the start. It's so individualized. It's wherever you are in your life. Yeah. Are you at the beginning of your investing career? Are you in the middle? Are you at the end? Are you single? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a dog?
Are you traveling more? Again, and that's the thing with renting versus homeowning. Maybe you do live in your house, but maybe the way that you're living, for example, Ian, you were doing a bit of traveling last winter. I'm not sure if you had anyone in any of your units then, but maybe that could have been a different situation. If you're renting, you just finish up the lease, pop off, go wherever. And that was kind of my situation, where it's nice to have that flexibility that comes with renting.
Yeah, and that's doing more of that now, where it's okay, we could, and then this might be a strategy you suggest for other people. It's again not for everyone, but yeah, I'll have my places on Airbnb, and I'll just sort of move around them because I'm super flexible. It's easy enough to pack up. Yeah, it's oh, if we want to go here, it's someone's booking a place for $1,000 a week. It's well, I can just go to one of my other places and life's good there, but yeah, maybe that's something that, people out there haven't even thought about. It's in the winter months, if you're planning to go do a trip or something, maybe it's throw your place on Airbnb, see what you can get for it. You maybe even pay for your vacation while other
Yeah.
people come stay in your house. And it's like, you know, there's that annoying part of like making sure your stuff's safe or whatever it is, but it's like, is that worth, you know, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it might be, and then again, just having your place, you know, someone there looked after, yada yada yada. It's it's definitely paid for some of my trips. So
I think anyone with like that scrappy entrepreneurial spirit will do that.
Yeah.
It's funny, you kind of run into like two walks of life. You run into people who are like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna like squeeze this extra like $10 out of this thing, and then you run into the other person that's like, I can't be bothered. Yeah, and that's what you're saying, Manny. It's like so individual. What your goals are, where you are at in life. Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong answer. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Said it a million times. Say it again. So, you know, do whatever is best for you and where you are in life. But there's definitely value in both. And like we're all obviously proponents of owning real estate, and that's great. But sometimes, like I said, it might make more sense to rent. But then other times, it might make more sense to own. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. As always, hit the like button and subscribe if you are listening on YouTube. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, give us 5 stars. Be nice. All right.
Perfect.
Bye, guys.
Bye.